The sun dipped low over the red horizon, painting the sky in streaks of gold and rust as the wind whispered. Across the open plains of Arizona, the small frontier town of Clearwater was quiet that evening, except for the creak of the saloons, swinging doors, and the faint clatter of boots on wooden floors. Among the dust and silence rode a lone cowboy named Jacob Hollister, a man with worn-out boots, a sunburnt hat, and a heart that had seen too much loneliness for one lifetime. He wasn't rich, wasn't famous, and surely wasn't the kind of man legends were written about, at least not yet. He came into town that day with only $12 in his pocket, hoping to buy a horse to carry him west toward a new beginning. Life had stripped him of everything else, his ranch, his friends, and the woman he once loved. All he had left was a promise to himself, never to bow down, never to break, and to keep riding no matter how rough the trail got. At the far end of the trading post stood an old Apache man, tall, proud, and silent, Chief Taquan, a leader known for his wisdom and fairness. The townsfolk kept their distance, not out of hate, but out of deep respect. Jacob approached the chief with his hat in hand and a weary smile. "I heard you've got a horse for sale," he said, his voice low but steady. The chief studied him for a long moment, his dark eyes filled with stories untold. "I do," the chief replied slowly. "But tell me, cowboy, what are you willing to give for it?" Jacob hesitated, then opened his hand to reveal the crumpled bills. $12, he said simply. The chief said nothing at first, then nodded once, a faint smile curling at the edges of his lips. $12, he repeated softly, as if the number carried some hidden meaning. "Come back to my camp at sunrise. Your payment will be honored." Jacob didn't understand the words, but he trusted them. He camped near the river that night, the sound of running water soothing his restless thoughts. When the first light of dawn touched the plains, he rode toward the Apache camp, expecting to find his horse waiting. But what he found instead left him speechless. Standing by the fire were two young women, tall, graceful, their long black braids shining in the morning light. They were Chief Taquan's daughters, Naya and Tessa, known among their people for their beauty and courage. The chief approached Jacob with solemn eyes. "The horse you asked for is no longer mine to give," he said. "But I made a promise, and I do not break promises. For your $12, I offer something greater, the hands and hearts of my daughters. They will ride with you, protect you, and teach you the ways of the land." Jacob's jaw tightened in shock. "Sir, I didn't come here to buy anyone," he said, his voice trembling. "I only wanted a horse." But the chief raised his hand gently. "Sometimes the Great Spirit gives us not what we ask for, but what we truly need." The two sisters stepped forward. Naya, with calm eyes full of strength, Tessa, with a spark of curiosity and kindness. "We ride with you, cowboy," Naya said softly. "Our father has spoken." Before Jacob could argue, the chief turned and walked away, leaving him standing there, his heart pounding and his thoughts spinning like tumbleweed in a storm. For the next several days, Jacob rode alongside the two sisters, through valleys and canyons painted in the colors of fire and dust. Naya taught him to read the stars, to track water where the earth seemed dry, and to listen to the silence of the wind. Tessa taught him laughter again, a sound he thought he'd forgotten long ago. At first, he tried to send them back, to insist that they didn't owe him anything, but they refused. "Our father sent us for a reason," Naya said. "We must follow this trail wherever it leads." Slowly, something inside Jacob began to change. He had spent years running from the ghosts of his past, from betrayal and pain. But in the company of these two women, he found something worth standing still for: peace. One evening, they camped near the edge of a canyon, the fire flickering against their faces as coyotes howled in the distance. Jacob finally asked what had been haunting him all along. "Why did your father send you with me?" Naya stared into the flames, her voice calm. "He saw your spirit before you saw it yourself. He knew you carried a storm in your heart. Our people believe that when a man loses his way, he must not walk alone. Sometimes the spirits send him guides, even when he doesn't want them." Jacob looked at the two sisters and felt a strange warmth in his chest, a sense of belonging he hadn't felt in years. Days turned into weeks, and their journey grew harder. Bandits, hunger, and harsh weather tested them at every turn. Yet through every trial, they stood together, three souls bound not by money or trade, but by fate. And when they finally reached the mountains Jacob had dreamed of, he realized the truth. The $12 he spent had bought him not a horse, but a new life. He turned to the sisters, his eyes full of gratitude. "Your father gave me more than I could ever repay," he said quietly. Naya smiled. "Then repay him by living, Cowboy. Ride with purpose. Ride with heart." Years later, the legend of Jacob, Hollister, the cowboy who bought two daughters, for $12, spread across the frontier. But those who truly knew the story never spoke of it as a trade. They called it destiny, the tale of a lost man found by two spirits who showed him that life's greatest treasures aren't bought, but given freely by those who see beyond gold and guns. And so, if you've been touched by Jacob's journey, by courage, kindness, and the power of fate, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, because here we tell stories that remind us all that even in the wildest frontiers of life, the greatest adventure is finding where we truly belong.